They just quietly changed the rules, and millions of Americans have no idea. The Social Security Administration has officially set a 2032 deadline, and buried inside that announcement are three benefit changes that could directly affect your monthly check, your eligibility, and your retirement timeline. We're not talking about small adjustments. We're talking about changes that could mean thousands of dollars less in your pocket, or if you play it right, thousands more. Here's what nobody's telling you. Most people won't find out about these changes until it's too late to do anything about them. The window to prepare is open right now, but it won't stay open forever. Change number one could shift the full retirement age for anyone born after 1968. Change number two directly impacts how spousal and survivor benefits are calculated. And change number three, it's the one that affects working seniors, and it's the one the mainstream media is almost completely ignoring. Whether you're already collecting Social Security, approaching retirement, or you're decades away and think this doesn't apply to you yet, you are wrong. This affects every single American worker. I've broken down all three changes in plain English. No confusing government jargon, no fluff, just exactly what's changing, when it hits, and what you need to do before 2032. If this video saves you even $1, smash that like button. It tells YouTube to push this to more people who desperately need to see it. So let's get right into it, because what the Social Security Administration has put on the table for 2032 is not something you want to hear about secondhand from a neighbor or stumble across in a confusing government document 3 years from now. You want to hear it now, clearly, and you want to understand exactly how it affects you. That's what we're going to do today. Let me give you a little context first, because none of this is happening in a vacuum. The Social Security Trust Fund has been under pressure for decades. Economists, government auditors, and independent analysts have been ringing alarm bells since the early 2000s, warning that the system as currently structured cannot sustain full benefit payouts indefinitely. For years, lawmakers kicked the can down the road. They made minor adjustments, issued reassuring statements, and hoped the next administration would deal with it. Well, the clock has officially run out on that strategy. The 2032 deadline isn't a rumor or a projection. It's the point at which the Social Security Trust Fund, based on current trajectory, would be depleted enough to trigger automatic structural changes, and the SSA, along with congressional budget analysts, has now begun laying the groundwork for what that transition actually looks like. That groundwork includes three specific benefit changes that are already being discussed, modeled, and in some cases quietly phased in. Let's talk about each one. The first change involves the full retirement age, and this one hits harder than most people realize because it's so easy to misunderstand. Right now, if you were born in 1960 or later, your full retirement age, the age at which you can claim your complete Social Security benefit without any reduction, is 67. That has been the standard for a while. But under the framework being developed around the 2032 deadline, there is a serious and well-supported proposal to push that full retirement age to 68 or even 69 for Americans born after 1968. Now, here's why that matters so much more than it sounds on the surface. It's not just about waiting an extra year or two. It's about the compounding effect of claiming early. If you decide to claim benefits at 62, which is the earliest you're allowed to, you already take a significant reduction from your full retirement age benefit. We're talking about a reduction of up to 30%. If the full retirement age shifts upward, that reduction becomes even steeper for those who claim early, because the gap between 62 and the new full retirement age widens. What that means in real numbers is that someone who planned to retire at 62 and live off their Social Security while their savings stayed invested could be looking at hundreds of dollars less per month, permanently, compared to what they would have received under the current rules. And remember, these benefits are not a one-time payment. They follow you for the rest of your life. If you live into your 80s or 90s, the difference between the old calculation and the new one could amount to tens of thousands of dollars over your lifetime. So if you are someone in your 40s or 50s who has been doing rough retirement math in your head, you need to redo that math right now with the possibility of a higher full retirement age baked in. The good news is that there is still time to adjust. If you can delay your claim, even by a year or two, you give yourself more protection against this change. But that requires planning, and planning requires knowing this is coming, which is exactly why this video exists. The second change is one that will affect a group of Social Security recipients who are often overlooked in these conversations: spouses and survivors. Spousal and survivor benefits have long been one of the most valuable features of the Social Security system, and they've also been one of the most misunderstood. Here's how it currently works in simplified terms. If you are married to someone who has a higher Social Security benefit than you do, you may be entitled to claim up to 50% of their benefit as a spousal benefit. And if your spouse passes away, you may be eligible to step up to their full benefit amount as a survivor benefit. For millions of Americans, particularly women who spent years out of the workforce raising children or caring for family members and therefore have lower personal Social Security earnings, these spousal and survivor benefits are not supplemental income. They are the primary income. They are the difference between a dignified retirement and financial hardship. The proposed change under the 2032 framework would recalculate how these benefits are determined, with adjustments tied to new formulas that factor in household earnings history differently than the current model. Some versions of this proposal would reduce the spousal benefit cap from 50% to a lower figure for higher-earning households, while others would restructure survivor benefits to phase out more quickly if the surviving spouse has their own Social Security income above a certain threshold. The details are still being debated, but the direction is clear. These benefits are being restructured, and not in a way that favors recipients. If you are a spouse who relies on or plans to rely on your partner's Social Security record, you need to have a serious conversation with a financial advisor about what your options look like if these changes go into effect. You may want to consider strategies like coordinating your claim dates differently or making sure you've maximized your own earnings record before you stop working so that you have a stronger personal benefit to fall back on. The 2032 deadline gives you a window to act, but that window is narrowing every year you wait. Now let's talk about the third change, because this is the one that flew under the radar almost completely, and it's the one that is going to shock the most people when it actually hits. This change targets working seniors, and specifically the earnings test and benefit taxation thresholds. Here's the situation. Right now, if you are collecting Social Security benefits but you haven't yet reached your full retirement age, there is an earnings limit. If you earn too much from a job, Social Security will temporarily withhold some of your benefits. Once you hit full retirement age, that earnings cap disappears and you can work and collect with no penalty. That part of the law has been a lifeline for seniors who want or need to keep working while also collecting benefits. But what is now being seriously proposed as part of the 2032 adjustment framework is a reconfiguration of this earnings test, alongside a change in how benefits are taxed at higher income levels. Currently, up to 85% of your Social Security benefits can be subject to federal income tax if your combined income exceeds certain thresholds, by the way, that were set back in 1993 and have never been adjusted for inflation. Because these thresholds haven't moved in over 30 years, more and more retirees are getting pulled into benefit taxation every year just because of cost of living raises, not because they've become genuinely wealthy. The proposal being floated would actually address this by adjusting the thresholds upward, which sounds like good news, and for many people it is, but it comes packaged with a restructuring of the earnings test that could make it harder for pre-retirement age seniors to work and collect simultaneously without triggering benefit reductions at lower income levels than before. What this practically means is that if you're in your early to mid-60s, working part-time, and collecting early Social Security benefits as a supplement, you could find yourself in a position where the income from your job triggers a greater withholding of your benefits than the current rules would. Again, the specifics depend on which version of the proposal gets enacted, and Congress has a way of changing these things right up until the deadline. But the trend is clear, and the smart move is to plan for the more restrictive scenario so that you're not caught off guard. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, okay, so what can I actually do about any of this? And that's the right question, because information without action is just anxiety. So let's talk about the practical side of this and what people who are serious about protecting their Social Security benefits should be thinking about right now. The single most important thing you can do, regardless of your age, is to create a My Social Security account on the SSA's official website if you haven't already. This gives you access to your full earnings record, your projected benefit amounts at various claiming ages, and updates directly from the SSA as these changes develop. Once you have that information in hand, you can actually model what your benefit looks like under the current rules versus what it might look like if the retirement age shifts or if the spousal benefit formula changes. The second thing you can do is stop procrastinating on talking to a financial planner who specializes in Social Security strategy. This is not a sales pitch. There are fee-only advisors who charge a flat rate for a consultation, and 1 hour with the right person could save you years of miscalculation. They can help you figure out the optimal claiming age given these proposed changes, how to coordinate benefits with a spouse, and how your other retirement income sources interact with your Social Security in terms of taxation. The third thing, and this one applies especially if you're in your late 50s or early 60s, is to think carefully about whether you want to keep working, even part-time, for a few more years if it means increasing your final average earnings and therefore boosting your benefit calculation. Social Security benefits are calculated based on your highest 35 years of earnings. If you have some low-earning years in your record from early in your career, replacing those with a few more years of decent earnings now can actually increase your monthly benefit meaningfully, independent of what age you claim. Here's the bigger picture that ties all of this together. The Social Security Administration is not trying to eliminate your benefits. Nobody is trying to pull the rug out from under retirees or near retirees. What is happening is a system that was designed for a different demographic reality. Smaller retired population, shorter life expectancy, different workforce structure is being forced to adapt to a world where people are living longer, retiring differently, and drawing from the system in ways the original architects never anticipated. The 2032 deadline is the forcing function that is making Washington finally deal with adjustments that should have been made gradually over the past 2 decades. Is it fair? That's a political debate. Is it real? Absolutely. And the people who are going to come out of this in the best shape are the ones who treated this information seriously, made adjustments to their plans while there was still time, and didn't assume that what they were told to expect 10 years ago is still what they're going to get. You now know more about these 3 changes than the vast majority of Americans who are going to be affected by them. Share this video with someone in your life, a parent, a sibling, a friend approaching retirement who needs to hear this. And if you want us to go deeper on any of these 3 changes individually, let us know in the comments below which one you want a full dedicated video on. We read every comment, and the most requested topics are exactly what we cover next. Stay informed, stay ahead, and we'll see you in the next one.